welcome to the KYAI pod by Metrum AI. We've got Chetan Gadgil, who's been working furiously today on gaining a couple of really great insights. And over the past 6 months or so, I think the AI space has really had a difficult conversation around the quality of the benchmarks for the models. And benchmarks are incredibly important because they set the star on what, in the direction on what is human level intelligence. And if the training data set has the benchmark questions, obviously it may not be a valid outcome for performance. There's also been a lot of controversies around whether some of the foundational model companies have modified and gamed the benchmarks. And even in the last week, as the newest version of DeepSeek V3, which is enhanced, where there's a real question about whether the benchmarks are meaningless at this time. And something that Chetan's been working on this morning is kind of using some new and novel techniques as paired with kind of the historical benchmarks that every model house produces when they launch a new model. I wanted to bring Chetan on to share some of his learnings and insights on that front.
Thank you, Steen. So today I have been playing with our KYAI AI platform, which is a part of Metrum Insights. And using the tools within the platform, I basically started comparing a couple of the models. One of the models was just released, as you alluded to, day before yesterday, DeepSeek V3 0324, which is basically the date of day before yesterday. And I also wanted to compare that. That's supposed to be a non-reasoning model, a standard model. I wanted to compare that with any other available reasoning model. Actually, I wanted to try with the full DeepSeek version, but that's the API that we are using is pretty slow on OpenRouter. So I just ended up using a smaller version. So the comparison is a little bit or slightly apples and oranges, but that was the intent, right? The Apple being the latest model from DeepSeek, which is a non-reasoning model, versus another reasoning model from DeepSeek, which is a 8 billion llama model, a reasoning model. So using our KYAI AI platform, I just ran.
Chetan, you want to talk about, I think just to frame this conversation, one of the things that's really important is if you look at the DeepSeek V3 model that kind of caught the world by storm. The base model is massive model, roughly 700 billion parameters. They also released a number of distilled versions using different architectures, where they took the base model and they distilled it down. One of which is the Llama 8B version. And obviously, if you just do the math on that and kind of the linear math on that, you're seeing a massive reduction in the footprint from 700B to 8B. And what that really drives is more affordable model serving. And if you can maintain the same quality level or near the same quality level, then all of a sudden we've got great quality at a dramatically lower price point. And this is, order of magnitude, this is like, 100x, right? Order of magnitude. So this is a massive game changer for affordability. But the real question is the quality level the same as you get that 100x level cost savings? And so what do you think so far, Chetan? What are your learnings?
So far, the new model seems pretty good even for reasoning type of questions. So I started with the MMLU Pro data set, which is kind of used across every model release that you see that has at least one element of the MMLU Pro data set, which is a reasonably or moderately hard data set. Metrum, we also have a few others of our own proprietary ones, which I didn't try today. So first impressions, the non-reasoning model is way better. It's performing way better than the reasoning model, even though it has to go through certain reasoning steps implicitly in order to arrive at an answer. The nature of any test that you give is going to be heavily dependent on the results of the test are going to be heavily dependent on how you measure and what exactly you measure. So that's why with the KYAI platform, we are able to look at the same model in different ways, not just one of the standard stock ways that many pretty standard benchmarks or basic benchmarks are doing in the industry. So that's the first impression. I can share my preview scores with you if you
Yeah, I think while you're pulling up those scores, I think I probably oversimplified this particular, because you alluded to this being an apples and oranges scenario. Where I oversimplified is I talked about the 100x reduction, but when you add in reasoning, then you've got more test time compute costs. So it's not going to be like a linear model size type savings. There's going to be some other trade-offs as well. But yeah, exactly. What do we have here, Chetan?
Yeah, as you said, the reasoning models tend to be very verbose. So even to arrive at a short answer, it goes through several reasoning steps. What you save in quality, or what you get improvement in quality, you actually spending more, both for the number of the size of the model as well as the number of tokens generated. But that's a separate topic. Coming to the early results on this model, legend is the DeepSeek, it's just shortened version. The abbreviations are the latest V3. The 24th March version compared with the 8 billion parameter model, distilled model. And you can see here the latest model, the blue color, and then the distilled model, the DeepSeek 8 billion is the purple color. Across the board, especially overall accuracy, it's significantly better, almost 20 points better on a scale of 0 to 100 compared to the distilled version, the reasoning model version. And then here are some of the other scores. Those don't tend to be, like if you're looking for a very specific comparison, then those make sense. But we just add them into the mix so that some tests actually we are comparing what exact patterns you're generating. When we're looking for very specific patterns, that's when these scores matter more. In this particular test, the above scores matter more because that's how the data set is constructed.
Got it. And so, I mean, your observation before looking at the data is you thought there was a material difference between the March 24th DeepSeek 3 release versus using a distilled reasoning version of the prior release.
Yeah, and so stay tuned. Today I will be doing another test on the new release of DeepSeek versus the older release of DeepSeek, same V3, except what's new in the March 23rd update, 24th update. That's going to be a much more interesting comparison for me. It'll take overnight, I guess, to run because of the API speeds and token speeds and all of that. But we'll be started kicking that off pretty shortly. So tomorrow we can maybe talk about the new comparison, or the actual more interesting comparison with the larger models, older version versus the newer version.
Are you going to use any of our proprietary KYAI tests on that?
For now, I'm just going to use this basic industry standard MMLU Pro. But yes, that is the plan over time. I want to start talking more about very specific domain specific tasks and performance in those tasks. Because when an enterprise is looking to deploy different models for different jobs, they don't want to know how good it is just at a general knowledge level or a general skill level, but how good are you at legal understanding or human resources understanding and things like that, right? So we start with something much more measurable initially, like physics and mathematics, and something that is much more clear cut. But those would be the other angles that I would also be very interested in looking at these different models and then talking more about it in the future.
All right, Chetan, well, thanks for jumping on the call so quick. I know I saw some interesting stuff go through our chat feed in the company, and I decided to have you jump on. It was a pleasure getting your insights on the latest March 24th DeepSeek V3 release.
Thanks for having me here.